Thank you for watching News Echoes World Affairs. My name is Shegun Johnson, and I'm glad you're watching. Today, we've got very important topics to discuss and analyze so that you might have an informed opinion. But at the end of the day, you decide. The first we want to look at is BRICS. What is BRICS and why is it threatening the whole world order? Let me introduce my colleagues in the studio. We have all the way from Moscow, Russia, Dr. Godwin Ibe. Dr. Ibe, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, viewers.
We have from Toronto in Canada, our brother Sir George. Sir George Chuku, you're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Dr. Second, Dr.
And
Second.
we have from the seat of power in Abuja, Dr. Osita Anyemeka. Dr. Osita, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson.
Last but
Glad to
not
be
the
here.
least, we have our man in Milan. We call him Mark in Milan. Mark, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shagun. Good morning, fellow panelists. Good morning, viewers. It's good to be
Well,
here.
let's go straight to the business. BRICS, what does it stand for? Organization of Brazil, Russia, India, China, now South Africa, and some people are coming into it, like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and probably one more other. And there is appearing that this group of people, they're going to change the world as we know it. And if they come together, that will be 50% of the world economy, 30% of the world landmass, and so many things. Initially, they were to look at economic development continuity, but now it appears they're challenging the forces of NATO. But who am I to continue this discussion when Dr. Godwin Ibe is in the house? Dr. Ibe, you know more than me. Please tell us more.
Yes, you basically introduced the topic well. BRICS, as you rightly said, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The term was actually coined by the West. It was actually coined by Jim O'Neill, a British economist, who just leisurely coined the term to. He noticed the dynamics in the economy in these countries and coined the term, and the term stuck, and these people actually really came together and formed an informal organization. But essentially it was without South Africa. It was just BRIC before. Without South Africa, it was meant to be an organization of leaders in different regions, right? And then South Africa being the leader of Africa at that time by gross domestic product. Nigeria was falling far behind before the re-evaluation of GDP. So they were seen as the leaders and invited to join BRICS. And since then, due to the dynamics of BRICS, controlling over 40% of the global population, I think to be quite precise, 41 point something. And in comparison to G7, for example, which controls just 0.7%, and also the global GDP of 39%, which it controls, made it attractive to other countries who have shown interest, as we have seen now. Not only South Africa, we have seen actually Iran and Argentina have filed for membership. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt are also alleged to have shown interest, and we might be joining in the summit in 2023. And if that happens according to plan, then it means that BRICS will now be controlling 50% of GDP and close to 50% of global population. And as poverty reduces, as GDP per capita increases worldwide, we hope that these problems won't last forever. It means that the influence or the purchasing power of this organization BRICS will stand to be much more higher than it is now, and definitely means that it will control. And it's also important to note that OPEC plus, even though Nigeria is not a member, but then three members of OPEC will already be members. Three members of OPEC plus in the name of Russia, Iran, and which one, Saudi Arabia. Three OPEC plus members will already be there. So Nigeria could also influence indirectly. But it's quite a shame now that Nigeria isn't part of such a great organization.
Okay, Dr. Ibe, should
Yes.
the world be worried that the BRICS, or if you like, the BRICS CCs, including Saudi Arabia? Should the world be worried that NATO is being challenged and something is brewing right now?
No, actually, there's nothing to worry because multipolarity is here to stay. It didn't start with BRICS, and it's not going to end with BRICS. The world is moving towards in a multipolar direction, but the concern for the world should be this move away from globalization to block economics. With all these sanctions, with all these restrictions, restriction of high technology, for example, to China, a lot of companies, both Western and Eastern companies, have said they will go bankrupt if they are not able to produce their goods in China, or technology is not made available to China. So the block nature of the world, the movement of the world, in terms of what,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
is
Let
going to
me.
be a much bigger
Sorry to be
problem.
cutting you. Let me ask: is Russia trying to prop up this organization so as to have power over the United Nations Security Council, like the U.S. is using the NATO?
No, mutual assured destruction says that any country with a nuclear weapon is not a good idea to attack. There's, there's, it's not negotiable. It's a dangerous game to even phantom the idea. So it cannot
Okay,
be. But
okay.
obviously the
We will come
influence.
back to you. Sir George, I see that you are shifting. Your body language is shifting. I might be wrong. What are you thinking?
Well, I believe that if you look into the whole narrative and from the beginning, it might have started as a matter of fact. The way it started is not the way it is going right now. Russia, Vladimir Putin is using this as an advantage to try to challenge the status quo, what we consider to him, to Vladimir Putin, what he wants to do is to challenge America as the superpower in the world. If you listen to his conversations every time for the past few weeks, he's been having meetings, and you listen to his language. His challenge has been America, America as the superpower. We want to break America. We want to do this to America. So many countries might be ignorant of what is really going on because they're seeing a part, what you call a seemingly power shift, an opportunity that is coming. And what we're seeing is Vladimir Putin, his greatest fear has been America. And up until today, listen to his conversations, all he talks about, like yesterday, if you listen to the news when he was talking, he actually is blaming America and blaming Europe for the war in Ukraine. And, that's the whole entire thing. So to him, he is using this as an opportunity to gather together in order to challenge what you call the status quo, the power that be. So to him, it's really not about economics, it's about power shift. That's what I see. Because I have, read up on this and I listen to it and all those type of things. So if part of the reason why the war is in Ukraine is simply because NATO wanted to establish and bring in Ukraine as part of them, which to me, I really don't blame him because it happened many years ago when they wanted to move into Cuba, and then something happened, and then the war,
Soviet.
kind of stopped. So the question to you is, this particular thing that is happening, what is the purpose behind it? When it started, what it was, and now what is it? You listen to that man, you will know exactly where his mindset is and the reason why he's fueling and making sure that, okay, right now, there's a block of people that is challenging what we consider to be the world powers and the people that are ruling. And, so they want to change the narratives and bring a block of people against Europe and US, as in controlling the nations around the world. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Dr. Johnson, we can't hear
Dr.
you.
Johnson, we can't hear you.
We cannot hear
Dr.
you.
Johnson? Dr. Johnson?
Okay, I think he's having network issue there. Um, anyway, beautiful insights. Now, Dr. Sita, the BRICS has been on for 14 years now. In fact, June this year made a 14th year summit they had. It looks like a progressive association. It looks like a progressive organization. The key point there is, how do Nigeria come into this power play? I mean, this emergence of a new world order where international countries are coming together to enhance their developmental growth. So how do Nigeria also play a key player in this whole concept? Dr. Sita, hear me?
Yeah, we can't. The way we are now, we can't. BRICS is 15 years, 14th summit. If you
Yes.
count 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6 to 15 years, 14th
That's good.
summit, Nigeria has not made an attempt in 15 years. You know why? Because we can't. It would be a shame to take our papers there for the several times that we will, and they say no to us. Because BRICS is important, to the world. Forget the fact that Goldman Sachs used it for their popularity, for marketing. But the issue is that they have come together, they have recognized themselves, and don't compare it to NATO. NATO is military. BRICS is economic, BRICS is development, BRICS is the future. That is the point. So if we are looking at BRICS as an organization, look at the fact that they have actually changed the fortunes of the countries that belong to it. India, South Africa. I mean, there was a time where we packed a warship for apartheid. Nigeria packed a warship for apartheid for 5-6 years. One ship, one good ship. We were supporting South Africa. Now South Africa, belongs to BRICS. We can't go near because we never get ready. We are, we're a joke to the rest of the world. So if what we are doing here, I keep saying it all the time, Schengen News Echoes is helping Nigeria reposition, if they are listening, to know what they're supposed to do. Because if we stay like this in the next 10 years, we will rot. The country is going down. We are drowning. Every day I wake up, in Abuja, and I'm asking myself, what are we going to do next? British and American embassies gave an alert in Abuja here. We played it down. How can we play such an intel down? And they are leaving the country now. When I worked for USAID, working for Additional, we raised $5.63 trillion investment promises for Nigeria. That was before the 2015 election. What happened to it? We couldn't appoint ministers for 6 months. All the investment promises left Nigeria. None is coming back. That's how unready we are. So the issue the issue at stake now is whether Nigeria doesn't know the benefits of BRICS. The issue at stake is, how do we prepare ourselves to join BRICS? What do we get from BRICS, or what do we put into BRICS? Because you have to go with something. You come to a level playing field.
You have to go with something. Thank you very much. I hope Dr. Shegun will come in. Now, Dr. Ipe gave us some insight. Countries, the countries in BRICS occupy about 10% of the global territory of the world, and 45% of global population. So that means somehow these people this organization could really begin to have impact in human existence. It also says that there are some governmental issues that the BRICS is going to look into from November. Dr. Ibe, what do you think could be an alternative? Sorry, somebody's phone is it's an interesting topic here, gentlemen, and we have you won't believe this, we have 1,900 people listening to us. So I think a lot of people are interested in the BRIC issue, really. Dr. Ibe, what do you think could be a starting point? Nigeria has said they've applied 5 times to join the BRICS, and but they come to check our indices, they come to check our economic policies, and we don't meet up. So what are some strategies? What are some key ways and strategy that we could use in Nigeria and really be a member of BRICS? Dr. Ibe?
Okay, thank you. I've said it before. BRICS is the idea of BRICS that these are leaders, regional leaders. It's not just anybody that just would wake up and say they want to be part of BRICS. Like you said, the indices are checked, and where Nigeria can start with is to stop playing this polemics game of being with West or East or all these colonialism or non-colonialism, and really balance the strategic, both tactical, strategic interests, um, key into national settlements. For example, most of Nigerians' international settlements are in dollars because we know why. We don't want to talk about naira now, but there's also no balance in national currencies. You also talk about infrastructure. What is the plan? China also is interested in their Belt and Road Initiative. What does Nigeria have to offer with the oil? China is interested in resource energy. How can they, synergism with the economies? What about security? As has been rightly pointed out, BRICS is not a military organization. It's not going to come in to protect anybody or defend anybody. The Nigeria can come in by, first of all, reorienting the economy to
But
offer.
Dr. Ibe, before you gloss over that, money is a weapon of destruction, financial power, not only physical power, not only arsenal, not only bombs can be used. You can use cooperation, unity to fight other groups. So BRICS could be a challenge to NATO. I mean, like we have seen in the past few months, the NATO tried to use economic power against Russia. They've not been very successful, but it's a power. So we may not assume BRICS is not going to attack anybody or defend anybody.
Yes, but you see, the strongest power of like I said, we're moving away from the unipolar world. But the strongest power of the U.S. is not the arsenals or the military; it's the petrodollar. It's the dollar. That's the strongest weapon the U.S. has, and the ability to impose sanctions. Yes, so and I wouldn't compare BRICS to NATO, but I'll compare to G7. That would be the more appropriate comparison in terms of their goals and objectives.
I agree
But
with you. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
yeah, but every country would try to use their leverage, and we are speaking about how Nigeria can come in. Nigeria can come in by taking care of security, infrastructure, energy supply, energy, and settlement in national currencies. Taking also using national payment system, whether it's Mastercard, not only Mastercard and Visa card exist. We have Union Pay, we have JCB, we have Kartamir of Russia. By integrating into all these systems, you make yourself closer, much more useful to blocks. And the more organizations we belong to, the more we can, defend our interests both on a short term
Okay,
and long term basis.
okay. Sir George, I just quickly want to ask you, why has Nigeria been dwindling in the areas Dr. Ibe just mentioned? Infrastructure, security, currency. Now, in all those indices he just said, Nigeria has been dwindling, reducing in capacity, and nobody will want to make Nigeria into such a formidable organization. And even those clamoring for Nigeria to be permanent member of the Security Council in the United Nations, they appear to be misplacing their priority, isn't it?
On mute,
Sir,
please.
Sir George. Sir
The
George.
journey. Can you
On
hear
mute,
me?
please.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. When you talk about Nigeria joining, the question is, how can you give an answer when you don't know what the questions are? So if you put a leader or leaders who cannot even intelligently give you a proper narrative about world economy, world power, world diplomacy, or whatever the case might be, and you are expecting them to join into such an organization as BRICS. They don't know what is going on. The leaders, current leaders in Nigeria, have no clue whatsoever. The only interest they have is how to go to Mecca and pray and come back. That's all they know. So when you want to get, into such an organization that is so powerful, then you need leaders that can understand when they are speaking, or they, understand the advantages and the pros of joining such an organization, which these people have no clue whatsoever what is happening. Go to most of these ministers today in Nigeria and let them discuss with us what we are saying. If they were here and we ask them questions, they don't know their head from their behind.
Yeah. Let me push this question
Can
to.
I say something?
Yes, please do.
In 2014, when the Central Bank of Nigeria invited us, to bid for, to host the entrepreneurship centers in Nigeria, I was bidding for the Southeast, and I had my reasons. The reason was that they say Southeast is the entrepreneurship capital of Nigeria, of Africa, and then I went there with so much pride. It took us time, several, bidding teams and everything. We were reduced 40-10, and then I got the letter. You know what I told the bank? I said, look at what India did for BRICS. India went there because of three reasons. One, job creation. Job creation. That's what India did. That was how India took over the entire universe, with science, technology, and jobs. And now they have GDP growth that is amazing, and there is poverty alleviation. These three things, like a tripod. So we went to work. My first quadmester CBN failed. They couldn't provide money for my graduates. Can you imagine that? They couldn't provide funding. How much was it? How much? These kids were looking for 2 million, 1 million. Some of them are babas in 100,000. I trained 12,480 kids. We couldn't fund 1%. We're not serious people. So
Okay,
when India does this, South Africa is doing something, Nigeria is saying that they could do something. We can't.
Okay, that leads me to the next question. I will want to ask you briefly, and then Mark. What is the Nigeria's foreign policy? Because a nation without an arrow center will be drifting. What is our foreign policy, so that we'll know how we are thinking towards unilateral, bilateral organization and multilateral organization? What is the Nigerian foreign policy?
Do we have any?
Osita, you are you listening?
Our foreign policy. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. What's the Nigerian foreign policy?
Go ahead, George.
No, he was asking
Okay,
Mark.
Mark, yeah. Maybe he can decipher for us. Mark in Milan.
Well, we have very, very rigid and very strong foreign policy. The problem is the implementation. Nigeria can come up.
We used to.
Yes, implementing these foreign policies are our problem. But let me say something. The BRICS issue is not Nigeria. It's not only Nigeria has been trying to gain entrance. A lot of countries also want to be part. But we said, there's an indices that has been placed, and you need to cross that threshold. Countries like Algeria and Turkey Pakistan and some other countries are also interested in joining. Now, talking about our foreign policy, Dr. Sita said something very important. We need to go by what we call best practices, best world practices. There are standards of doing things in the world. When you're in Nigeria, in the ordinary discussion, you hear people say, you get how we did do our thing here. There's that mentality of, well, you people can be doing your things, but in Nigeria, it gets how we did do them here. And as long as we have that mentality, we can't really get into this big league of nations. So doing things in our fragmented, very, very fragmented local way cannot help us in our foreign policy. Nigeria do have strong arranged foreign policies, But
Okay.
implementation,
Let me just, because I want to bring this part to a conclusion for now. We will visit it in the near future. In the
yes,
days of anti-apartheid, that was just the Nigerian foreign policy. Anything we breathed, we ate, we spent our money on was how to get apartheid out of South Africa. Since then, Nigeria has gone from one primordial foreign, so-called foreign policy to the other, to up to today we don't have a clear-cut foreign policy. Even they will agree with you, and the unfortunate part is we have very intelligent, brilliant academicians within the Nigerian foreign affairs. I will not doubt that, but they've not
that's
been able
correct.
to articulate what the government will do. And let me make it very plain. The foreign policy of the United States of America is how to police the world so that they can be the superpower of the world. The foreign policy of Japan, of China, of Switzerland is foreign trade, how to send out their goods and make money. They're not interested in war, they're not interested in power. What we've not been able to know what Nigeria is focusing on outside of its shores, which will, on the long run, benefit the national interest. We've not been able
That's right.
to articulate that, and I think I want to be corrected if I'm wrong, and that is the challenge. The internal squabblings and wranglings and insecurity and lack of intelligent people, like Sir George said, without the question, how do we know the answer? So we've not been able to move forward in an articulate foreign policy for the country, and that might be very difficult to enter BRICS. I'm sure that Dr. Ibe we will still be will benefit from you. Can you just, in Dr. Ibe, because I want to shift the position right now, what else would you like to say, telling us about BRICS in 30 seconds?
Yes, I want to say when Argentina tried to join BRICS or filed in the application, before they filed it, they had to go and talk to all the members, especially China. When they finally got Chinese approval, they announced it publicly. Look, these countries are not looking to these organizations are not looking to expand. It's Nigeria has to do a lot of work, make a lot of consultation to be able to join, and of course, it's beneficial. Otherwise, all these countries, even close allies of United States like Saudi Arabia, would not be planning to join. It's because of the significance of organizations like OPEC Plus and BRICS. They are very, very significant powers of influence.
All right, thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. We'll be visiting it very soon. Sir George, very close to you is our girl Megan. We were told she's 43% Nigerian. Yay! But we don't know what part of Nigeria. Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and Yorubas have been claiming her and giving her all sorts of Yoruba names. What's your thought about this new revelation?
Well, we could see the fire in her. That's
That's
the
for
reason why
sure.
we believe that she's, that genetic transmission actually came from Nigeria, because we have been known to be the firecrackers of the world. But it is interesting, actually. And recently they sent a lot of aids to Nigeria in regards to the flooding victims, to help the flood victims. So it is exciting to know, but we are all in some kind of way connected, but so when you see the way she handled the royal family and separated one of their sons away, you know that she got that genetic power from Nigeria.
Mark, thank you, sir. Mark, what else are we having coming our way in Britain? All of a sudden, we have a British Prime Minister who is Indian. Now, the royal family has got a Nigerian inside the house. What else can we not expect?
Those of us following things, we've always known Meghan had some African blood in her. I mean, it's obvious. The mother comes from the Caribbean island side, and we know it's more of the Nigerians slaves that were taken to that part. So there's obviously that genetic, that bloodline flowing. Also, but the thing is, she kept this secret. You see, why we're not happy, she kept this for too long. She has known this. and probably she knew it from birth. The mom must have told her, and she's claiming she knew it in 2017. But why did she keep it? Why is she coming up now? So
She
she
had
kept
too
that
many
secret.
problems. She was hated by the
Yes,
British press, many of them.
yes.
She had,
She kept it because she was going to use it to she was going to use it to leverage on her coming to the palace. But when that didn't work out now, she's now owning up to the fact,
Dr. Godwin,
So,
do you agree with Mark?
A lot of people look. I'm always very careful when it comes to foreign policies that don't concern the countries I'm residing in. But from what I hear about from also British citizens and British journalists, some say that she's attention seeking. Some say she's woke. Belong to the woke group of people. I don't know which is true, but it's not implausible. Why now? What is the aim? It's gracious Nigerian if it's true. But I would like us to really focus on substantial things. What are we to gain in this knowledge? How does it
Is
benefit
that
Nigerians?
the British, all the British former colonies, they're coming to the center of play, and that is exactly
Yeah,
what we're going to discuss when we come back from
break.
break. We'll go on a short break, and when we want to look at how the British Prime Minister is doing the British way of doing things with an Indian curry. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Schengen Story magazine is an African international bi-monthly magazine based in Milan, Italy, and founded in 2016. The publication focuses on personalities, fashion, style, entrepreneurship, and culture for Africans. Though articles on food, movies, fitness, music, travel, sports, technology, and books are also featured. Our lives full of best stories. A lot can happen in a month. Expand your mind, change your world. Get Schengen Story magazine's full editions. Celebrate an Africans make an impact. Read better, the inside story. Your fashion magazine for a better lifestyle. Inspiring stories for you. Your monthly dose of entertainment. A better mind keeping you updated.
Hashtag Schengen Story magazine. Get Schengen Story magazine full editions.
When I wrote the book, The Final Solution, the Lord gave me some things in the spirit realm to see going to happen here. And that is why you need to get a copy of this book, not because of the purchase, but because of the contents. We've not spent 2 weeks. Now we have seen the problem in Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, Donetsk, Luhansk, and all the other surrounding nations, talk less of the Western countries and the Eastern countries. We want to pray that this stops where it is. Some people are even imagining a third world war. I pray that there'll be no third world war. But we need to know the solution to all of these problems, and they are well packaged in that book, The Final Solution. The amount of money is next to nothing. Go to Amazon and buy this book. Go to the Kindle, go to KDP and buy this book. It's very important. So it is in Amazon and Kindle. And of Thanks for staying with us. The British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has spent barely a week now, and he has so many challenges. The Labour Party will not leave him alone. They have called him emergency prime minister. They have called him a mishmash. They have called him so many names that may not even be printable. The society, they've gone everywhere. They say it's going to be Indian curry now. And the religionists, they said the king is a Christian, the country is a Christian, and the prime minister is a Hindu. How long will we continue with this break-a-brat of kind of discussion? And also, people have said that he's not going to last, but his economic policies have brought dividends so far. The British sterling has gone up, and the economy appears to be getting stronger. He seems to be getting it right at this initial stage, but the issue of being Indian is a appears to be a clog in the wheel of progress. But I might be wrong. Let me just ask our colleagues here. Let me start from Osita in Abuja. Dr. Osita, how do you see it?
The market calls a shot.
Simple.
Market calls a shot. Yes, if he makes Britain come back to the top of the market, whether he's Hindu, whether he's Muslim, whether he's Christian, does not matter. What matters is where does the UK belong in world trade? I mean, before the break, we were talking about BRICS. 5 countries make up 18% of world trade. That's power. So if they come back, if Britain comes back to the center stage of world trade, the new prime minister has won. Let them call him PM of color. Let them call him anything. People already in Africa, they are tweeting. They are tweeting that he's doing a ritual worship at the steps of 10 Downing Street. The thing went viral, but to most people who understand what he's doing, it means nothing. All he wants to do is to lead Britain again, and then if he can and if he succeeds, because he just started, then whether he's Hindu or Muslim does not matter. What we want to see is what brought him there in the first place. If what brought him there can keep him there, let him just stay there and win. That's my perspective.
Thank you very much. What we want to see is what brought him there in the first place. And like you said, he did very well as an exchequer. And Dr. Shegun just said the economy is getting a kick, and that's what matters. Sir George, people are getting a little bit emotional. The human nature is still emotional at some point. Now we see a lot of British people, the real British people, like they claim, saying things like, he's not a British man, he's an Englishman, he's blah, 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 he's all this. Now, why is this racial game coming into place? Why are we doing this? Why is humanity still at this point of life of people still bringing sentiments, racist sentiments and all this into politics when all we want is good governance?
Well, you see, what it is this: the way things used to be is no longer the way they are. There's been a strong challenge against the status quo, and now all of a sudden the Queen is dead. 2 prime ministers are down, and a new one has emerged. So you will always have, because of the social media and the ease of people being able to speak, you will always have the contrarians, whether you like it or not. I don't care whether you bring Prince Charles to be the prime minister, somebody will say something. It doesn't matter who that person is. So the social media, the way we communicate these days, gives everybody the power to be, a media person, to talk whatever. But the fact of the matter is, look at this man. You look at his background, look at him, and look at his wealth. It's reported that he is even richer than the king himself. So that is the influence that is bringing the economy back to light. People are able now to invest. They feel that they can bring out their money and put it into the market. People are excited because an individual who is a business mogul, who has a lot of wealth, he didn't steal it like most Nigerian politicians. This is wealth that came to him from the family. Therefore, he must be doing something good. And that is exactly the point. So it's not like he made a decision and then all of a sudden, the economy turns around. It's the influence of who he is that is turning the economy right side up.
Right.
And people are now ready to trade again.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ibe, can we have a foreigner or a non-indigenous but born in Russia, prime minister of Russia someday? Can that happen?
Very good question. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know if it will. We know that, but what we know is that mm, the the rules, the laws were not as open as they are now. Russia is opening up in terms of being more friendly with their laws, in terms of migration laws, and a kind of work that naturalized citizens can occupy. So it's gradually opening up, so we can see progress. So how much that will go, I cannot say now, but I believe it's a positive trend generally. Now, concerning how identity politics, I really detest identity politics. um and it's very unfortunate that neoconservatives mm, woke people use it when it suits them. When it doesn't suit them, they criticize it, they condemn it, and seeing it being mentioned now, especially after everyone really, Liz Truss has been given the chance to try her luck. It didn't work out. Now let the guy just be. Yeah. Now concerning bilateral
Bilateral
relationship,
relationship.
there's some
There's some
echo
echo.
concerning bilateral relationship. Russia doesn't expect so much from Rishi Sunak. It's been said by the spokesman, because well, he tends towards the he's more of a globalist kind of person based on his investment. By the way, he owns his wife owns a share in Infosys, a Russian company, and there are no problems with that. No one has seized his asset or any of that. So he's a global investor, by including in Russia, and he has publicly come out to say that it's his wife who owns it, and his wife isn't running for government, but it's he who is running. So that shouldn't be an issue. Now, he also cares about the public perception about his policies. So he's the kind of person who gets feedback from what I see. Now, as Dr. Sita has said, is the market what he does in the market that dictates where the direction Britain is going now. I believe. Wait, first of all, the British doesn't know how best to evaluate their progress. I'm only saying it from a layman outsider perspective, so I hope they don't take it too critical. But the direction is going, one will look and say, well, it's not the best direction. I mean, all this rhetorics, all this war, all this positioning, whether it's against Russia, against China, it's not telling good on the economy of Britain, especially as a financial center house. Many of the oligarchs, many of the rich people are now going to Dubai, not London anymore, which used to be like the center, financial center. I know so many examples personally. I know so many
Yes.
companies that have opened now in Dubai, unlike London. And so this posturing is not helping. Sorry, just let me land on that. And also
Okay.
the reason for leaving BRICS was to have some kind of control over bilateral relationship. But when
That's
it's
right.
going towards one side, then it's defeating the purpose of Brexit. So I think they have to consider this and make their own conclusions if they're on the right path or not.
If they're on the right path or not. We're coming back to you anyway. So, but it's a news echo world affairs, and we're looking at all issues as it affects us also as Africans. There's something coming up in Canada, Sir George. China is in the news. It was in the news yesterday and to this morning. China we're talking about BRICS, and we're talking about having impact in development. But also, there could be some exaggeration in some of these trying to have impact. China claims to want to control their citizens that are scattered around the world. They want to control the businesses and things their people are doing. And thereby, they are now setting up police-like structures, police station-like structures in different countries of the world. One that is coming very strong is in Canada. Sir George, you're in Canada. Thank you.
Yes.
You're in Canada. What is it that's happening? Is China
Well,
breaking the code of sovereignty and going against international sovereignty? Yeah, go ahead, Sir George.
well, we have seen a few number of information coming out of after that, and the RCMP, which is the country's police law enforcement department, it has looked into this. China claims that what they are doing, because of the pandemic, many of their citizens were unable to travel back into China to renew their licenses, renew their passports, and all those things. And what they are doing is using volunteers to create what you call a mini embassy, whereby people can go there to renew their license, to renew their passport, and have some sort of small stations. But it doesn't make sense. The truth of the matter is that China is not well trusted, because everywhere they are like ears on the ground and eyes on the ground. So people are not really believing what they are saying. They're saying that these people, that is just they hire office, a small office where they can take care of their own citizens and stuff like that. They have two of them in Canada, as a matter of fact, is for the welfare of Chinese citizens. But whether that is true or not, we do not know. But what we know is that the government is looking into that, and they're looking into the people that are employed in those areas, whether they were former police officers or current police officers from China. It has not been determined yet, as of now.
Thank you very much. So please,
and we do understand also that
yes,
this thing is happening all over the world. It's not only in Canada,
yes,
even as a matter of fact in our own country, Nigeria, and they are saying the same thing. But why would you leave China to bring your police into another country to police your people in those areas? That is an interruption to the sovereignty of the nation, if that is the case.
That's very true. So please, we need to follow up on that, Sir George. Give us updates as time goes on in next edition, because Dr. Godwin, you agree that this is breaking of sovereignty. Will Russia allow China set up police station in Russia, in Moscow? Dr. Ibe.
I'm happy you asked that question. How come they do not have police stations in Russia? Is it about allowing? How come they do not? How come we don't hear that in Russian news? The problem is that even if I was a Chinese government, I probably would have more police stations in Nigeria, because Nigeria doesn't have security. I want to protect my citizens. I would rather trust my own security. Now, but if we're talking about Canada, it's a different matter. It's a different matter.
But there are countries have laws of sovereignty. I mean,
no, I understand. I was speaking about Nigeria as a special case, in the sense that even if you do illegally or illegally, well, they have kidnapping insurance, and yet their employees are being kidnapped. How many countries in the world do you know that has kidnapping insurance? It's a very special case. Yeah, even with flooding, where the government isn't able to take care of, all the people who are, displaced at the moment. It's definitely a special case. Now, for organized countries like Russia, we don't hear about that. That cannot happen. That doesn't happen. But for countries like Canada, it's a different matter when U.S. Canada, because the distrust has been there. It's not a China thing. It's It's a both of them don't trust themselves. And in terms of data breaches, intelligence snooping, this is not something that are limited to China. We hear lots of things about the CIA doing this, the FBI doing this. We have Snowden, Edward Snowden in Russia, saying the same thing about the NIA. Yeah, so all this snooping intelligence is not something that only China does. All intelligence, that's what they are paid to do, to snoop, to
Yes.
find intelligence. So let's not call one party. But the fact that only one, the Western, in terms of the special case like Canada, US, it needs to be investigated further. China, let's give them the benefit of doubt. They've tried to debunk it, saying, well, they until a verdict, until thorough investigation, where all parties are allowed to be part of the investigation and reach an objective evidence. Let's give them that benefit of doubt before really
Yes,
accusing them.
let's give benefit of that. But also, added to what you're saying, beautiful discussion there. It's not a bad idea for two countries to come together in a bilateral agreement and say, yes, bring your security in to help us probably curb excesses, criminal excesses that we can handle. So I think if China comes in a mutual agreement table, it's a beautiful idea. This way, we could even begin to have less crime, less
Yes.
things happening. Yes, when two forces come
It should be an
together,
effective kidnapping insurance in
it could be
effect.
an effective operation. Yeah, so we are not totally saying it's a wrong thing to do, but we are saying two countries could come together, agree on this, and carry this project out. So China can do whatever China can, because China has the manpower, China has the human capacity, China has also to a level intelligence too. So, but
The highest purchasing power in the world. The highest purchasing power in the world.
That's correct. Okay, thank you very much. I think network is affecting some of our people, but listen, we have a huge number of people following us. You won't believe it. About 10,000 people are listening to us live, and the number has been fixed there. 10,000 people. Yes, you had me very well. So we want to begin to round up. There is something going on in Nigeria presently. But today is a world news affairs discussion, but we somehow interrelate it and look at the implications, how it affects us too as Africans, even as we mix with the international world. Presently, there's something going on that we don't really understand, and I don't know, Dr. Ibe, if you know what's going on there. Nigeria is signing some MOU with South Korea. Our president just left this morning back to Nigeria. He's been there for about 3-4 days now. Do you know what that means? What's that happening in South Korea? Do you have any idea?
I'll just quickly, straightforward say I don't know, and I believe very, very few people do. But at the time of flooding, it's not the best optics for the president to be out of the country when there's a national emergency. Even different countries are calling. It's not good optics. South Korea should better come to Nigeria to sign the agreement, not the other way around. We have a national emergency, and I think they can understand that. After all, LNG exports have been called off due to force majeure. It's accepted as a force majeure. We have a national disaster. It's not good in reality, and just not good optics as well. So whatever it is, I hope it's important enough, and it's important enough to warrant this traveling, and I hope it will help to resolve this flooding, which has led to the loss of lives and displacement of livelihoods and businesses.
Thank you very much. So whatever it is, the president is back, and we really want to know what are those agreements are. Sir George, I know you're wondering, what's this man doing? Sir George, there's a summit coming very soon. I don't know if you're following that. The climate summit will be coming in Egypt next week. And the climate issue seems to be a problem. It seems to be something that concerns, everybody wants to talk about the climate. What will you say about the climate? I mean, this meeting comes next week, and there'll be convergence of world leaders. Everybody will be there. What do you want to say about this? Is it
Well,
worth attending? Is there
well,
anything?
there are two factions when it comes to the climate situation. Some believe um, that the climate will take care of itself. Others believe that, if we continue the way we are going, that that things will get worse, which I believe it is getting worse right now, because it has been predicted that such is the case. But the climate changes, the control of, the gas emitting into the sky and all those type of things happen. If you go to some countries, cities in China, you can't even breathe because of the pollution that is taking place. And they're also talking about, the climate changes is taking place actually, because it's supposed to take place. The world is increasing in population. Science is, we've been trying to find ways of controlling the emission of gas and all those type of things. So it is an important issue to discuss. But I just wanted to touch a little bit about the president of Nigeria going to South Korea to sign a contract. What do you expect from the president? We see flooding going in Nigeria. We haven't seen him visit any city whatsoever. We haven't seen him make any comment whatsoever. One of his ministers is telling you that it's not a national emergency. So if you think about that, he doesn't care much about what's going on inside the country right now. So Dr. Ibe, we can excuse him because he's no longer a Nigerian president. He wants to, extend his international tentacles or whatever the case might be until he leaves office. You don't hear anything from the man. So he's no longer interested. But,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, we are running out of time, but we need to touch on all the topics we have out there. And one important one, I want Dr. Ibe to give us some opinion on this. Europe is opening up to recreational marijuana. Europe, yesterday, Germany is saying that you can now have recreational marijuana. But Dr. Ibe, a minute or two, what are the implications? People will be smoking this. Now, this was supposed to be something that was prohibited and a very serious crime that took people a lot to prison. Germany is opening up, Italy, Spain. In fact, Spain has earlier made the opening up. And we're going to see a lot of people smoking freely. So you as a doctor, Dr. Ibe, give us in a few minutes before we round up.
My heart bleeds, but who am I? They can run the country the way they want. But my heart bleeds because a lot of these things we once condemned, we are now not only just doing them, we are doing them for sports, for fun. Well, prostitution is legalized in many countries. Drinking, underage children going for gender operation, changing their gender even before they become 18. Reduced fertility, and now increased fentanyl use, and now to add to that cannabis recreation. What is bad remains bad. What is detrimental to health remains detrimental to health. What only changes is just the politicization of it and how it's being used for whatever political advantage, or maybe the pressure for some financial sponsors. But it's clear that cannabis creates dependence, and anything that creates dependence should be avoided. Simple and short.
As that.
Anything that
Thank you
creates
very much. Anything that creates dependence should be avoided. I think we might bring up this topic again. It's something that we need to look into, but our time is off. We won't want the network to take us off while we're talking. So
Canada has legalized marijuana. Do you know?
Yes,
that?
long ago. Yes.
And
thank you very much.
Recently,
yes.
Uber is actually can deliver marijuana to houses.
That's correct.
That's another law that I just see.
That's correct. So we're going to come back to this. Dr. Ibe, please look into all it implies, advantages, disadvantages, gain, because they are saying there is financial gain. Nigeria says some people are fighting that Nigeria should also legalize it because they say Nigeria could make a lot out of it in terms of income. So on this note, gentlemen, Dr. Ibe is from Russia, Sir George Chukwu from Canada. Our brothers, Dr. Shegun, had some slight issues there, and Dr. Osita from Abuja. We want to thank you all for coming to the Schengen Story Media News Echoes, today's World Global Affairs. So until we come your way next week, Friday, same time, and some more beautiful topics, issues that really concerns us, human beings, Africans, and all the new generation of positive-minded people around the world. Thank you. Until we come your way again, have a beautiful weekend, and bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Sir George. Thank you, everybody.
From around the
Thank
world.
you, viewers. Thank you, Panda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. 10,000 people from around the world.
In total, wow.
In total. That's amazing.